So let's start right there. Did this group chat break the law?
Almost certainly it did, and it reflects a general sloppiness and negligence in the whole approach of the administration as they've gotten started here. They've been struck down more than 40 different times by federal courts with temporary restraining orders or preliminary injunctions because they've acted in such a cavalier disregard of what the rule of law requires. And this example...
If you want to be a MAGA Republican, which I don't know why you ever would, but if you did, you have to embrace one thing, and that is hypocrisy. The MAGA movement is built on shameless lying and contradiction and cognitive dissonance. These are people who say one thing while they're doing another, and the perfect example of that can be seen today after the bombshell story. That Donald Trump's administration is so incompetent and stupid that they're accidentally leaking war documents, secure information that they talked a lot about with President Biden and Hillary Clinton, and it's coming back to bite them, especially our somehow Secretary of Defense, the DUI hire. That is Pete Hegseth with a meltdown he had on Fox News, absolutely backfiring on him because of his disgusting hypocrisy. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into Heth, I want to hear someone who pointed out the hypocrisy of MAGA on this topic so perfectly. That was Jamie Raskin right here.
So let's start right there. Did this group chat break the law?
Almost certainly it did, and it reflects a general sloppiness and negligence in the whole approach of the administration as they've gotten started here. They've been struck down more than 40 different times by federal courts with temporary restraining orders or preliminary injunctions because they've acted in such a cavalier disregard of what the rule of law requires. And this example you're pointing to, Casey, obviously is with respect to operational implementation of some plans. But if you look at what the underlying plan was, it's Congress that declares war on Venezuela or on Yemen. It's not the President of the United States. So it's both this tremendous operational negligence and sloppiness that has been shown, but also the idea that they act in complete defiance of what the Constitution says and what the rule of law stands for.
Well, this is not, of course, the first time that the U.S. has launched strikes along these lines. It certainly is not just Republican administrations that have done that. But Congressman, Hillary Clinton, of course, lost an election in part because of criticism around her handling of classified information. How do you expect Republicans to respond to what we've learned about how it was being handled by the current Secretary of Defense and others?
Well, it'll be child's play to go back and find all of the Republicans who were demanding congressional investigations and that Hillary Clinton apologize and leave the campaign and so on based over her handling of the information, most of which was not classified, I think. This was clearly classified and of an extremely sensitive and significant nature. So I would hope that they would at least acknowledge the emergency that is represented by virtue of these kinds of practices, and they would try to tighten them up. But again, I don't want to overly focus on the operational, because even today we've got an opinion from Judge Boasberg saying that the administration was acting completely outside of the law.
It is absolutely absurd to me that MAGA thinks that they have any moral high ground on anything but two when it comes to classified documents and secure information. Did we ever think to mention Mar-a-Lago and the boxes of documents in Donald Trump's bathroom? Donald Trump sharing potential war plans with China with Elon Musk because he gave him $250 million and does all of his business over there. And now, Pete Heth, oh, you DUI hire Pete. The hypocrisy is staggering, with Pete staggering. And the worst example comes in this interview right here on Fox that we're going to watch a clip of in full
DOJ and FBI seems happy to take the word of Biden's lawyers, which is why it does feel like it's so much different than what happened to Donald Trump.
Well, look, unless the FBI is paying those personal attorneys, they shouldn't be taking anybody's word but their own investigators in the DOJ.
No.
I mean, that's their job. Unless they're, getting paid. And if they are, that would be our money. So maybe we go deeper. I don't think they are. But what else would be the reason for why at this point you don't tap every place he's ever been since he left office as a senator 15 years ago, since you know some of the latest documents date back to then? Why aren't you now going every place he's been? And by the way, who else has been with all those papers? Maybe you have 1,000 places you need to go now, depending on how many hands touched them.
Yeah, I mean, he is the president of the United States, which does create complications. But it also increases the urgency. If the top man in the job handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing.
You had to sneak it out.
And you're moving it. You had to sneak it out. Or someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit in. And then you don't even know how many you have, and you've clearly hidden them from the public. You're the president of the United States. As was stated earlier by Governor Sununu, if at the very top there's no accountability, why should there be for Christian Saucier, the submariner who took photos in a submarine and didn't even show them to anybody, just had them, and they wanted to throw away the key on the guy? That's the two tiers of justice that exist. This is going to haunt the Biden campaign should he try to run, because this connects dots to Hunter. This connects dots to foreign interference or the foreign influence. And if anyone in the press outside of this network actually does any homework, the smoke is right there. The question is, will they do it? And Biden's political opponents know that weakness, and they'll continue to foment it.
Yeah, the worst part so far that legal experts have told me, Pete, is finding...
Okay, there is a lot to unpack here. The first thing is, Pete Heth is an absolute joke. It is still absurd to me that this guy is our Secretary of Defense, but let's get to the point. Pete Hegseth is saying, oh no, this leaking of information, what a disgrace. Oh, it's so terrible. He says that. He also says that the leaking is reflective of Joe Biden's cognitive ability. An absolute lie, an absolute misstatement that Joe Biden leaked. Look, he didn't classify documents that he stole.
I pray to God.
Not true because of his cognitive. All of that is a lie. But if we look at it from Donald Trump's perspective with what is currently happening right now, it hits pretty hard, especially when you take a look at this clip right here.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
So Donald Trump says he knew nothing of this leak. You're telling me about it for the first time? I don't know. I'm not up to date on sensitive information within my administration. I don't know anything about it. Is that not exactly what he said about the Alien Enemies Act? Well, I didn't sign that. When he clearly did, that was Marco. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know what that act is referring to. Donald Trump is very clearly losing his mind, and it is very clearly affecting our national security. The same argument that Pete Hegseth was trying to make about Joe Biden was an absolute lie, is true today. That interview with Hegseth, 2023, really coming back to bite him. Now that you decide to go on Fox and meltdown, and speaking of meltdowns on Fox, that's exactly what we're seeing from the other four hosts of The Five, with Jessica Tarlow calling out their lies and their hypocrisy right here.
Donald Trump's ratings on handling the economy, inflation, cost of living are all tanking. And we're seeing this administration's incompetence and recklessness on a scale unimaginable. I'm sure you guys saw this incredible Jeffrey Goldberg piece from right before we got on air a couple years ago about Goldberg, who is a journalist at The Atlantic, being invited into a private Signal chat with all of our national security heads. So Rubio, HEGSETH, Waltz, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bessent's in there, et cetera. And they are planning on just Signal to drop bombs in Yemen. So they're not doing this in a skiff. They're doing it on an app that you and I, we all have on our phones. And it's obviously incredibly reckless, national security risks. I don't want to ever hear butthurt emails again. I don't know what's going to happen to anyone who's involved in something like this. But on top of it, you have the vice president. He's in there as well, contradicting Donald Trump on his policy on Europe. So all of this is going on. We're only a couple months into this administration. And when Carville says, let's see what they do, you get stuff like this.
The way that Fox has tried to defend Donald Trump is not surprising, but I just can't even imagine the cognitive dissonance that is in the brain of Jesse Waters or Jeanine Pirro or Greg Gutfeld. These people are just lying, and they know it. They do not care. This is an insane leak. This is a bombshell story. This demonstrates what we've been saying from the beginning, that Donald Trump is happy to break government to point to the fact that it is broken and say, let's just get rid of it entirely. Do we think Donald Trump was looking for the best in the brightest in his administration? The only half-decent people Donald Trump has ever put in his cabinet or surrounded himself with quickly realized what an insane person he was and tried to warn the world, but our country did not listen. And now, this is what we are dealing with. Kamala Harris said that dictators around the world were just licking their chops at the idea of Donald Trump back in the Oval Office. But apparently they were excited about his cabinet too, because these are the stupid people we have ever had in government, plain and simple. Sure, we can talk about the lack of character that they have. We can talk about their conflicts of interest. All of that is true. But baseline here, let's just level set. They're dumb. They are dumb people. They are not smart. And they are running our government into the ground. Into the ground. This should not be allowed. This is absolute insanity. And Hakeem Jeffries responded with that all in mind right here.
Absolutely be a congressional investigation so that we can understand what happened, why did it happen, and how do we prevent this type of national security breach from ever happening again. This is reckless, irresponsible, and dangerous. Who are some of these people that Donald Trump has put into the most sensitive national security positions in America? We were promised that
there is no reason why every person in that group chat shouldn't have a call for their resignation immediately. I want an investigation into every single one of those people. I want it as drawn out as possible. What did Hillary Clinton testify for? Like 119 straight hours or something like that. Every one of those people. Everyone. I want Witkoff. I want Vance. I want Hegg. I want Gabbard. I want them all, get them in front of Congress. This is why we needed AOC as the top Democrat on oversight. She would be the person going after these Republicans right now. And yeah, I know maybe that's not the most important point to bring up right now, but you know what it kind of is? We need Democrats who are ready to respond right now and fight like hell, because this is terrifying. This is terrifying. We need to seize on this moment. This is incompetence. Everything is falling apart for Donald Trump. Already popularity in the tank, economy crashing, Elon a mess on the opportunity. This is absurd. I know I've said that a couple of times. I'm going to call him dumb. One more time. Are you okay with that? Dumb? I can't even believe it. We're going to call them out. Though I can promise you that much. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.